Our guests live a life of meaning and purpose, making their dreams come true. That's what makes regular people exceptional. Become exceptional, become empowered. Hello, my beautiful Em. How are you?
Hi, I am so good. How are you?
I'm so delighted to have you in the program. I met Em in Bali this summer, like yesterday, and it was an instant love story. It was an instant connection. It was I don't know, it's like when you are in front of Em, you can feel the spirit bathe you inside. She is so warm. She defines herself as a sensual embodiment coach. And I can tell you that you're here for a treat and you will feel her warmth around you. And this, my hairs are all spooky.
Yes.
Has so many empowering stories to tell us. Even though she's so young, she's gone through so many, let's say, 3D experiences. And thanks to them and through them, she's the beautiful, I don't know if say human being or angelical being that she is now. What would you like to share with us today?
Firstly, can we just hold space for this magical moment?
Of course we can.
Because, wow, to start the journey, when I first started my healing and my awakening, began to believe in soulmates. I began to believe that there were souls on this planet that I would meet and we would find each other and there would be this remembrance. And beforehand, I never knew this was possible. I grew up with a life that you get one soulmate and it's your husband and that's it. And once you lose that one, you're done. And there came a point in my personal journey and embodiment with God and life where I was like, I have soulmates. They are out there and I'm going to find them. And I started trusting God and the universe or life or source or this bigger energy that I could do something in my body and in my heart and in my life to be a beacon and begin to magnetize my soulmates. And when I came to Bali, I knew my soulmates are here and they're waiting for me. And when I met you and I met Owen and connected with you guys, I knew immediately. I was like, soul family, soulmates, soul connection, and the way it all plays out so that we can be in these moments where light can be really shone authentically, where we can connect and speak a message and let life move through us is such a testament to the magic of life and the crazy moments. And I just have to honor it and be like, wow, thank you for having me, for loving me, for connecting, for rediscovering each other in this life, because it's been a journey and it's so beautiful. And I'm so honored.
Thank you so much. And you were kind and generous enough to share some of those moments that you've gone through in this, as I said before, 3D life, the experiences, yes, the human experiences that we go through. Would you like to share something with our tribe here, or the learnings that you got from them? Whatever you feel comfortable with.
Most people meet me and they're like, oh, she's so cute and bubbly. And like, I really am. Like, I think I get questioned more often if it's real. And I'm like, guys, it's real. I love life. I love this human experience, the full spectrum, so much. But it was a journey. So I think we should drop in to me 3 years ago, 24 years old. And that was really the breaking point. You know, people say they have a dark night of soul. Mine really cracked when I was 24 and I had a suicide attempt. And it was really the end. I was super overweight. I had multiple organ failure. I was infertile. I was recovering from being a substance abuser. And my life really fell apart at that point. It was the end. And I made it. I didn't die, even though I flatlined, and they brought me back. And I remember sitting in a psychiatrist's office one day, and they wanted to do ketamine treatment. And he was like, tell me what's going on. And I was like, I feel like I've fallen out of love with life and it hates me. And like, there's no going back. And I remember in that moment, it was like God or some voice in the distant broken shards of my mind was like, we were in love and we can be in love. And it was that moment where I was like, that's what we're all seeking. Through everything in life, through all the heartbreak, through the longing, through the work, through the overachieving, through everything, what we're seeking is love. We want to feel love and held in love and be guided and know we are guided, that we're not alone in this experience. And that was where the shift started. And for me, it is learning that there is a journey we can take, mind, body, and soul, in this space-time continuum that can bring us back to authentic, real love with life, with ourselves, with the journey, the full experience. And yeah, I feel like is it okay to unpack a little bit of the story up to the suicide attempt?
Whatever you want to share that you feel comfortable with. And yeah, go to your heart and think of the people on the other side, the people who are going to watch this video, because it could add massive value to them. That's the whole point of these stories, or these empowering stories. You were talking about search for love, and you were talking about loneliness. There are many times in our lives where everything seems so freaking pointless. We feel so disempowered. We don't feel the love anywhere. We don't see the point.
So for me, there was definitely that point. There was a point where everything I knew to be true disappeared. It went. When I first moved to London, after I finished my postgrad degree in psychology, I had a normal life. And that normal life was sticky and had a lot of ego stuff, but I didn't even understand what ego was. So I thought it was okay. I had a family, I had dogs, I had a long-term partner, and it was okay. 3 months after landing in London, my best friend committed suicide. It was the first time I experienced death. And if you've ever gone through those moments of losing someone you love, and it's the first time, it just shatters you. It's like, how could this happen? How could this happen? 2 weeks after that, I got a call. My mom got terminal cancer and asked me to come home to look after her, to be her carer. And I flew home, and 3 months later, she died. During that time, my partner of 7 years broke up with me and left me. And a month after that, both my dogs spontaneously died. They just died. I fell into substances because I needed to cope. That was my way. I was like, I'm gonna drink and be okay and pretend everything's fine because I'm a positive person, and we do this. And then I got to the UK, and I was working and trying to like grind my way through life, and I left to travel, and a week later my client died. And so I came back to South Africa, and it was like full escapism. Like I just wanted to forget it all. And I traveled and I drank and I partied and I thought I had it together, went back to the UK to work again, and my sister killed herself. And so that was in the space of 12 months. I lost my entire family. My mom's whole family then disowned me because they really struggled with the deaths and the suicides and everything else. And it became just me and my dad. And I had to go back to the UK to work. And there were days where they speak of the weight of grief. And there were days where I would just lie in bed and I'd be like, how do I even move? Like, I haven't even opened my eyes yet. How do I move? How do I do this? Why would life do this to me? And I fell into this like headspace, and very justifiably so. Like, life did this to me. Like, I was a normal girl. I was a little psychology graduate. I was doing my stuff. I wasn't perfect, but I was, and then it was like gone, everything. And I finally got back to Cape Town to be with my dad. And that was always a dream of mine, to just be my daddy's girl. And within a month of us living together and trying to figure out life, he met someone else. He met his now wife. She's amazing. But at the time, it was not okay. It was not okay. Like, I just wrote journal pieces on the fact that she put a coffee pot in the house. I was really going through it. And then Corona hit and I lost all my money and I couldn't leave Cape Town. And it started to downward spiral. I realized my drug abuse was a problem, and my drinking and my partying. And so I got sober. And then in the midst of that, I lost my identity as the cute girl who could party it off and rave to the grave. And everything just started to be stripped away. And that was where we hit May 2020 with my suicide attempt and surviving. And what started to shift for me as I began to heal was there are levels of consciousness that we live in. There is the life happens to me, the life happens for me, and life happens through me. And I spent so many years in the life happens to me. And so many of us are there. We wake up in the morning and it's like all this shit is happening. Like, it's happening to me. I'm in the flow and I don't know what the flow is and I don't know how it's happening, and it's traumatic. Sometimes you wake up, honestly, you wake up one morning and there's so much anxiety in your body. You're uncomfortable. You feel overweight. You feel gross. You're disconnected. I went through organ problems and it's like, what is going on? Like, I didn't sign up for this. And you hate yourself because you're like, people are telling you like, oh, it's your choice. So you're looking in the mirror like, I chose this, like this level of suffering, like this much heartbreak, suicides, people's lives being lost, like being a broken, shivering wreck on a pavement, which happened several times in my life. It was like, no, it can't. And then I started to realize that there's a purpose in life. See, so many of us are living for our dreams. We're living for an ideal, and we're not living from them. We're not coming from a place of where our desires are and anchoring them into our present. We're living with this dream that we're not enough and we need to become something. And so things are happening to us. But actually, it's all happening for us to come back to ourselves. And I realized in my mind, I had made so many illusions of what I needed to be that I'd lost who I was. And God began to take away everything, switch out all of the external lights around me so that there was a point when I would turn the light on inside me. And it took a radical ego death to have a radical spiritual awakening. I have said it many times, your biggest breakdown is your biggest breakthrough if you're able to begin to perceive it that way. As humans, we are belief-based beings. What we believe, we perceive. When we can shift and stop saying life is happening to me, it's happening for me, it begins to open up space between our identity and our purpose. And in that space, we can start to breathe a little, and that's where the magic can start to drop in. And so it was a path of beginning to just ask with curiosity. Like, that was my dropping in, was being a child again. You know, they say faith like a child. I grew up with parents who were pastors. I had a lot of biblical scriptures in my head, never understood them. But you know, there's a thing called rhema, revelation. The word becomes flesh. You take the words that you know so well, and then you embody them into your life. Faith like a child. What does it mean? Faith like a mustard seed moves the mountain. It was curiosity. I got so sick of life that I couldn't even die in it. I was just here. And so then I was like, how can I start to just like experiment that this is for me, not to me? And I started to see how every event that happened was leading me further away from who I believed I was and more into what I could believe was possible. And I started to question, like, what is the meaning of life? What is this for me? My health problems, my body, is it talking to me? Does the body talk? What is she saying? And like, sometimes it's like, oh gosh, she's not happy. How can I talk to her nicely? How can I begin to listen to her? What can I start to do in the present moment? What if the people who died are still trying to talk to me? What if they're guiding me? What if there's a world beyond what I can see that exists? And I started getting like logical about it. You know, like snakes see infrared. They're real, they're on the planet, they're seeing a whole different color pattern to us. So there's possibility that there are things that my little eyes and my little brain can't see, but they can feel or sense. There's that realm of possibility. And I started to open space for it. I started seeing an energy healer. I started learning about life force energy. I started to drop into my body, mind-body connection. I started studying. I started being fascinated. And all of a sudden, the level of the downward spiral that my life had been started to upward spiral. My awareness shifted and my consciousness began to set intentions for life rather than death. And I started to see how everything was happening for me, that the past didn't exist and the future didn't exist only in my mind. And what I had now was this present moment. And here, now, we have the power of choice. And the question you always get to ask and choose is, how do I desire to feel? And what can I start to do to let my body feel safe to feel that now? And how is life happening for me in everything in my life? And as I switched these mindsets and I let my body sense it, it was like the miraculous began to manifest. It was like it just like popped open. And once you're in that world and you've got those goggles on, it's like looking around and everywhere is a kiss from the universe. Everywhere is something that is loving you. And the hard stuff you end up being grateful for. The moments where I witnessed my mom die in front of me, those are some of the moments I'm my most deeply grateful for. I realized in that second, in those seconds where the soul left the body, that we're not our bodies. You know, we spend our lives identified. Oh, my body, my weight, my hair, my this, my that. And then we're like, oh, you're not your body, you're not your mind. What does that mean? Well, when you see someone leave their body, you realize quite quickly, like, that was not them. Like you could feel the shift. What was that? Like, how did that work? I feel my mom now often with me in crazy guidance, crazy manifestations in the 3D things that are like, wait, how? But it's the supernatural. There's something beyond what we can perceive, but it's the felt sense. It's the subtle energy. And so even in those tragic moments where human hearts break, and if you go there for people just witnessing, it's like, how could we ever cope? watching your mom or your sister, or being on that phone call when they find the bodies. But in those exact moments, that is where I lean into my deepest level of gratitude, where I'm like, that's where it changed. That's where I started to perceive a new life. That's how I started to understand the separation and the connectedness of all of this. And it always takes me to that, like the Bible verse is, God works all things together for good. How? This is how. When we as humans can realize that this human experience is a soul suicide mission. We're not getting out of it alive. Like, it's not going to happen. But it's an experience. It's an embodiment. And we can really begin to then drop in to connection, not attachment, to depth, but we don't have to get lost in it. There is the polarity of this experience, and we can detach from outcome, but deeply lean in to each moment, knowing that this is all we have. And when we have our intentions, we can magnetize our desires here into this field. So yeah, that's been a little nutshell of the journey. Yeah.
Wow, a hell of a journey, and thank you so much for sharing this. I'm thinking of people with a job, a family, little kids. How can we do both? Look after the job, the house, the children, all the material stuff that we need to go through, because we are material as well, and put it together with this joy and wonder about the whole of the universe. How can we do this at the same time? Because somebody might say, and I'm the devil's advocate here, oh, well, she's young, she doesn't have a family, she's in Bali, she's pretty, she has a gorgeous hair, look at those eyes. And oh yeah, she went through a lot of shit, and now she's got this awakening, but now it's just her. How can we put those together? What's your experience?
My experience, and this is, it always gets me so excited. Your outside world, the 3D world, starting with your body, going into your loved ones, going into your environment, is a mirror of you. And when we realize that we are energetic containers, literally, we are souls in vessels that are magnetizing our desires and magnetizing what we have in our field, everything you look at, you begin to see as a mirror. And that mirror can show you something beautiful. It can show you something quite shocking. But what it provides you is an opportunity to readjust and lean back into love. It doesn't matter how old we are, how beautiful we are, how strong we are. What matters is what we are perceiving. And when we are working, when we are cooking, when we are looking at our kids, whatever we are doing, walking down the street, if we start to put on the goggles of, this is a mirror of me, and I'm learning to lean into love, I'm learning to drop into that frequency, you start to see God manifest, life manifest, love manifest in everything. And even when you have the sticky moments or the job is exhausting, you get to ask yourself, is this what I desire? How can I turn to love through this? And if it's not, you know what life gets to do? It says, baby, 7.8 billion perceptions of the same moment in space-time. Choose what feels good for you. What do you desire? What do you desire? God is the masculine energy. It provides everything, and we are the feminine. It is our beautiful duty when we devote to life to soften and open ourselves to receiving from life. And when you see that, what you can ask is, am I willing to open? Because God's there, but he will never penetrate and enter you without your full surrender and desire. So he will wait, and he will love you, and he will support you, and he will guide you. And we, as the feminine energy, get to a point in our life of surrender where we say, I am willing to be naked in front of you and open myself fully to you and trust that you will enter with your light into the deepest parts of my being, and you will fill me with your life, and I will trust you in that. And when we then come through that and we realize we're in a divine union in ourselves with the Creator and with life manifest in our work, in our relationships, in our family, in our food, that is when we start to co-create a life with intention of love. And so for all of us, whatever we're doing, I always say an extraordinary life is an ordinary life with the extra added into it. It's leaning into what is the extra. Human beings by nature, we like our routines. I've traveled a lot, I've moved a lot, I've done a lot of stuff. You know what? I have my same routine. Why? I love it. But we get to add the extra. And the extra comes in when we know we are held and we are willing to go to our edge of fear and say, baby, I trust you. Enter me, be with me, be through me. And that often means getting out of what feels normal. It means expanding to our edges, but also enjoying it. The sweetness of surrender, the pleasure of the unknown, but knowing. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not yet seen. All of these verses become embodied because you get to sit wherever you are in this world and look around you and be like, I get to choose to see love in this. How can I? How can I try? What little thing? And it starts small, and then you start to build this momentum. If we see things we don't like, then life's like, baby, are you willing to surrender it? Are you willing to surrender it? Do you trust me? Do you trust yourself? Do you trust us? How deeply are we connected? When you're in love and you're in deep divine union with your lover, you're in trust. You trust them. You're giving them yourself. It's the same with God. When we get to that place where it's like, shit does hit the fan, everything we know to be true does go. It really does. But we're here. And there's a frequency that carries us, that connects us. And that starts right here, right now, in this present moment. It starts with looking at your hands, looking at your laptop, looking at your pot plant or your cup of coffee or your lover, and being like, the divine's in that. It's a reflection. Looking into your eyes in the morning, there's the divine. It's within me. Looking at nature, closing your eyes, feeling your breath. It's here, it's present for us always. And it is our love story to lean into that, to feel that in us, through us. So yeah, life becomes a living meditation. The being and the doing are a dance. And you feel the felt sense of what life is through everything, through the ordinary. And you get that extraordinary life.
Everything you've just said, I think most of us know here, if we've been in the personal development space for a while, if we've been looking for answers, looking for purpose, looking for something, I think it's here. But somehow you've managed to verbalize all these ideas in a way that our fences just dropped. I can feel how they melted into here, into our hearts. Thank you for that. What a gift. Thank you for sharing that with the world.
Of course, my darling. Yes. Yes. The full spectrum embodiment. It's about the full connection, mind, body, soul, here in unity, in surrender, and feeling it. It's that, wow, all of us, all our parts, and then coming back in. So yes, I'm so grateful I'm here and we can have these moments and drop into truth and feel it. Yes.
Well, I'm sure that this is going to speak to, everybody. In my case, if I may share, I had trouble thinking of God, creator, universe, or whichever way you want to put it, as male. So I equated that male to my earthly father somehow. And I didn't want to do much with that. I wanted to keep away because my earthly father didn't make me feel safe. Let's put it that way. But the way that you phrased it now is this male creative force and provider. With that, I can connect, because all of us humans, we can be the feminine, and then it makes sense because it's both forces. Is I am able to everything, pluripotency, as the male force. I provide you all because just out of love. All you need to do is put your finger up and say, this is what I desire. This is what I want. This is what I want to experience. Thank you for all these experiences, not only the ones that I can think of, but also all the wonders that I can see every day, like a bird eating in the bush in front of my window, like the little plant that grew in the cracks somewhere impossible. Those tiny little things is, wow, this is a wonder. This is marvelous.
Yes. Yes. And you know, the outcome of our human experience is the same at the end. But your experience of the human experience gets to change. And so when we shift our perspective and we realize we are lovers with life, that it is our provider, it provides us everything, then we get to consciously choose how we perceive this human experience and how we receive it and how we embody it. And you know, life gets really turned on by us when we get excited, when we're like a little in awe, when we're in surrender, when we're in gratitude. It's like, okay, baby, let's go, because it has so much goodness. And when we close and when we're sad, it is patient and it waits. It does not penetrate, it does not force, but it will bring us to places of surrender to be like, are you willing? Because I have so much. Come sit with me and pray. Come sit with me and observe. Come sit with me and witness. Let me show you how much I love you. Do you dare to feel it? And when we dare and we try just a little, it is a love affair for a lifetime. And that's the human experience.
It is beautiful, indeed. I have one question for you, Em. The last question is about your sister. With the awareness that you have now, if she were alive now and had taken the same decision that she took a few years back, how would you face that now?
If I was in this present moment and I got the call that Catherine had taken her life, the first thing I would do is be very present with my emotions for a start. I would recognize them and I would allow them. Because back then I was broken and I just wanted people to think I had it together or to escape. And the biggest part of our healing journey starts when we can recognize all the emotions and allow them. And then I would drop into my body and I would let her release. I would let her move everything. I wouldn't try explain myself. I wouldn't try be the hero. I would come right back into this moment and let it shift through my body. And afterwards, I would go into nurturing myself. And for me, the nurturing really starts with forgiveness. And it's multifaceted. You forgive the person who has gone. But ultimately, what I found in my journey is you forgive yourself. Because they're not here, but every day you look at yourself in the mirror. And there is a part of the human psyche that holds responsibility or blame or fear or self-hatred that we don't want to go to. And everyone says, oh, no, it's never you. And you listen because they're also trying to make themselves feel better because God forbid it happens to them one day. But when we move through all that, it's you and you. And what life wants to know is who we are at our core. Do you love and accept yourself completely just as you are in the midst of everything reflected around you? Is that possible? Do you do that? And I never held space for myself to authentically self-love, to look into my eyes, to truly forgive myself. For years, I blocked it. I went through the emotions, I went through the ego justification, I went through the substances, I went through the meltdowns, I went through the radical traveling, overworking, anything to distract me. And then there came that day of reckoning where it was like, you magnetize your life. What is in you? What is anchored? What is the energy in you that's anchoring? Is it love? Do you desire love? What do you desire from this? And forgiveness brings about love. And so once we do that, you realize that death honestly is an illusion, that your spirit guides, the higher beings, the angels, your soulmates, the ones that are here on this planet and the ones who are above, they're with you. And we're the ones blocking ourselves from receiving that because we cannot allow ourselves to be present with our emotions, to release them through the body, and then to return back. And so if I got that call again, I would embark on a deep dive journey, and I would not give myself a time limit. I would surrender time at that point, but I would set every intention on returning back to a place of deep love and forgiveness, so that life could move not just to me, but for me and then through me. So I could sit opposite other people who had lost loved ones and help them come back to that place of love, so that I could meet people and that frequency could magnetize for healing, for awakening, for embodiments. And I think that sort of ties up where I started, the 3 levels of consciousness. Life happened to me, life happened for me, and now, and I pray forever, life happens through me. That my journey, my human experience can be a light. It can be a testimony to others that there is a way forward no matter what happens. It's happening for us. And then we get to come back. And then we get to find our soulmates sitting at a spa in Astana, and we get to sit and do podcasts and reach more lives. And we get to spread this love and this truth so that all of us can remember why we are here. Because it is not for pain, and it is certainly not for taxes. You know, the level of energy we give those things. Wow, it's a thing. We are here to return to love. And everything is guiding us towards getting back to that place.
Thank you. How can people be guided and accompanied by you? Where do we tell them to go and contact you?
If you are ever desiring to connect, Instagram is my best. Okay. It's emswain_coaching. And I also have a website, emswain.com. And then my email address, you can always drop me an email, emswaincoaching@gmail.com. And I am here. I am available. I am a devotee to life and to my soulmates. And the coaching I do and the program I run, it encapsulates my full embodiment process, start to finish, to help us drop back into our power, move out of the mind, into the body, begin to let life be your lover, begin to embody into your purpose. And the byproduct of this is crazy manifestations and enjoyment, but mostly it's that remembrance. There comes a point where the remembrance happens, and happiness is a byproduct, and wealth and income, all the things we think we want, they're byproducts of being a lover with life and being a lover within ourselves. And that's the big thing for me, for my loved ones and my soulmates.
Thank you so much for this consecration and this commitment of sharing love with others by being love, by having embodied love, by radiating love. Thank you so much.
I love you. Thank you for having me. This has been the best.
Anytime.